Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sabrina Marsya Aurellia. I come from Sma Negeri Bandar Lampung, Provinsi of Lampung, City of Bandar Lampung. And under today's motion, which is, this House prefers the strategy of pushing for institutional reform to address police abuse and misconduct rather than defunding the police, I'll be taking on the leader of opposition's role. But before we go to my arguments, I have several points of rebuttal toward the government side of the House. The first one being, the government claimed that recruiting people of color into the police department might bring significant change to the systemic racism in the department. But we say no, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because all over the years there are already people of color in America's police department. There are already black people, there are already Asian people, Latino people in United States Police Department. And other than that, let's take a look at George Floyd's recent death. In George Floyd's recent death, there was one Asian cop who takes part of it, who got involved in the murder, and this further proof that recruiting people of color is not effective, and if anything, it do nothing to help the systematic racism. And my second point of rebuttal is that the government side of the House claims that the cops won't be able to fully protect people if we defund them from, for example, drug cartel, they say. But I say no, ladies and gentlemen, because it is not the police responsibility to protect people from drug cartel. Drug cartel or drug dealers are the responsibility of the DEA, of the Drug Enforcement Agency, and they do deserve the rights to be more violent because it is drug dealers that they are facing. This is real criminals that they are facing. And meanwhile, if the government said this, it implies that the government side of the House justifies police intervention and police intervention on things they really shouldn't touch, such as the drug dealer. But moving on to the status quo right now, we have to see that over the years, hate crimes against minorities, especially black people, is very apparent and very widespread in America, starting from something that was several decades ago, such as the Ku Klux Klan, and to the assassination of Martin Luther King, up to the very recent death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and other people of color. And this collective set of tragedies are what fuels the anger of the people who wants equal justice, who wants equal safety to all people regardless of their skin colors. And as we see in the world around us, that Americans are very angry at the current situation, and some of them even riot. Why? Because peaceful protests against racist crimes, against hate crimes have been going on for decades, and nothing significant have happened yet to change it. And when they've run out of peaceful options, they have to do something more radical. They have to protest radically for the government to finally hear their voice, especially now that the U.S. office is led by Donald Trump as the president, and the Congress is filled with members from the Republican Party who have been very vocal about their support to the systematic racism in the police department by lifting up hashtags such as Blue Lives Matter, and even claiming that it's the victim's fault that they get murdered for resisting arrest. And while yes, George Floyd did resist his arrest, but it does not imply or mean that he deserves to be murdered or shot on the spot. So based on this, we can conclude that the status quo right now is horrible and it needs fixing. So what do we stand for, ladies and gentlemen? We believe that the justice system in the United States is very deeply, systematically racist and corrupt, and institutional reform is not going to change it. And what we need right now, what the United States of America needs right now, is a very drastic change. So welcome to my first argument. My first argument being, how deep is systematic racism in America? Many of the Americans, white people, have been taught to equate policing with public safety for so long that they can imagine alternatives to a legal enforcing system. But in reality, the United States legal system was built to reinforce deep systematic racism, and for those minorities such as black people, the justice system have more often brought terror rather than safety and feeling of justice to them. And the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, and Sandra Bland are inexcusable as a form of justice, no matter what the reason is. It is straight up murder because they don't get the chance to have a trial. And And another proof of that is because recently a 17-year-old white male named Kyle Rittenhouse brought an assault rifle to a street and shot 2 people to death. And what did the police do when they saw him done it? They let him go. And although they did arrest him, it is only after major backlash from the Americans in the social media and protests. So, Mr. and Mrs. Adjudicator, this is proof of why and just how deep the systematic racism runs in the United States. Moving on to my second argument, which is, why is defunding the police better for other aspects? Institutional reform has been long promised by the U.S. government since a very, very long time, but only little to none have changed in the system. Hate crimes from the police still exist, corrupt cops still exist, bribery still exists. It has been going on for so long that institutional reform might as well mean nothing. It's only a white lie said by the politicians to earn sympathy of the people. And this is why we must defund the police, because it is the best choice we have on our hand right now. Because police deserves less arms, less guns, and even lesser privileges, because their privilege discriminates those without power. What the United States needs the most right now are affordable healthcare with a better quality, a cheaper college tuition that don't make the students go in debt after they graduate, and most importantly, a sense of justice to all layers of people in America, regardless of their jobs, genders, sexual orientations, religions, or even skin colors. And those better aspects of America won't be achieved if we implement the current status quo right now or the government's proposal about institutional reform. But moving on, we concede that our proposal may seem very radical, very leftist, even very liberal. But take a look at America today. Take a look at the millions of people who have got infected and hundreds of them who have died because of COVID-19 due to the lack of a good healthcare system in America. Look at the streets filled and burned by the anti-fascists, or so Trump claims, who simply wants people to feel safe, who wants every people to feel justice, and take a long, good look at those people who demand justice to everybody, regardless of their skin color. Look at what happened to these people. They are met with violence by the cops. They got tear gas. They got beaten. They got punched. They got hit. And even some of them got run over by a police car. And some of them even died and even got arrested for simply voicing their opinions, voicing what is right, voicing for equal sense of justice in the United States. And finally, take a very long, good look at the media outlet, at the news channel, at the newspaper, at the social media, and the news trying to sugarcoat the demonstration, trying to make the police seem like the nice guy, and make it seem like the police are victimized and hurt by these radical activists. And based on this reality, what we have to say is that we don't trust institutional reform in the hands of a corrupt government. What America needs is a drastic change, and it starts with us defunding the police. And Mr. and Mrs. Adjudicator, that's all that I can say. And with that, I proudly beg to oppose. Thank you very much.